members of the press. We are humbled that today have brought us the climax of the assignments that we were called to do based on our paid grade. And as it was extraordinary, it was also based on existential necessity. Thankfully, our colleagues have dutifully been patriotic and took up the assignment and fulfilled the obligations for which we came to pursue. On another note, on the afternoon, Thursday, November 19, 1863, about 156 years ago, the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, in his Gettysburg Address, extolled the sacrifices of those who died at Gettysburg in defense of those principles and exhorted his listeners to resolve that these deaths shall not die in vain, that this nation under God, meaning the United States, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. It was a rallying call for unity and patriotic consciousness. Liberia is at a crossroads. There are people making claims, inflammatory and impudent, to the extent that they want to undermine the security of the state. Today, we can safely say sapientially that the CDC, under President Weah, has brought forth a government to include a concession or a reflection of the Liberian nation. This is a government of the people, for the people, and by the ordinary people. This is a government that is bent on catering for the less fortunate. Those cultists and others who believe in prejudice and discrimination are only focused on destroying the state and creating individuals with maladaptive coping habits. This government, being constantly reminded on a daily basis of the victimization of several million Liberians and the genocide of nearly 300 Liberians and other nationals for the senseless civil war, shall never expose the people to any such act of barbarism again. This government shall never. John Kingdom, in his book, Government and Politics in Britain, asserted that no one is unaffected by politics, constructive politics. Speaking very broadly, he said politics principally should be concerned with the way people organize their lives together in a community. The important collective decision shaping the quality of life concerning wealth, health, education, and morality are all essentially political in their nature. Esteemed member of the press, the kind of politics we see today for some members in the society, some members, and patriotic, I may add, seem very toxic, subversive, destructive, and polarizing. These brains of politicians who tread this path are bitter resistors of prosperity and democratic sanity. They get the pleasure from sowing seed of doom and gloom. This government, having inherited a broken economy, is dedicated to extend the nation's productive capacity and strategically diversify the economy by creating structural changes necessary for sustainable growth. We need to join the government to achieve these objectives. Let us all engage in constructive politics. This this is indispensable to unity, peace, tolerance, stability, objectivity, justice, happiness, and prosperity. What are now the absolutes or ultimate reality for the assurance of public safety and national security are sound patriotic fervor and heightened national consciousness. It is without doubt that indeed those two are of practical political fact. Contemporarily, no individual or individuals, group or groups, have the right to undermine, threaten, or illegally attempt to threaten the legitimacy, authority, and power of a democratically elected government, let alone calling for an unconstitutional removal of an elected president. People found in such practices are unquestionably perpetrators of the crime of treason, terrorism, subversion, and so on. Liberia does not need people pretending to be angels when indeed they are vicious corruptors of peace, provocateurs, or heartless conspirators. Let history alight us of the bloody Liberian Civil War, which decimated nearly 300,000 innocent victims, mainly children and the elderly, including women. This must never again be repeated. Those who rejected the ballot, those who were rejected at the ballot box should be more democratic and try again. There must be no more war. There must be no more violence. Liberia needs no more senseless crisis. We see hatred in the eyes and behavior of certain group of people. They intend to retard the nation's growth. Lu Jibu remarked, a Chinese remarked, on hatred by saying, hatred is corrosive of a person's wisdom and conscience. The mentality of enmity can poison a nation's spirit, instigate brutal life and death struggles, destroy a society's tolerance and humanity, and block a nation's progress to freedom and democracy. Wherever we are, we must never or we must not fail to report when the safety of the people and security of the state are threatened. Let us sincerely put the country first. Where there is a threat, speak out. To conclude, we must all realize that the social contract is a universal phenomenon. Social contract is an implicit agreement or understanding amongst people in a particular country, state, or area to work together for social benefits, for example, by giving up some individual freedom for their protection, and also to ensure that people live in harmony. The theory of social contract became popular in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries amongst tourists like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. As a means, is prepare and will, without any scruple, maintain the implicit agreement known as the social contract in accordance with the Constitution. It is universally an undisputed fact that where the security of the people in the state is in danger, some freedoms will have to be given out for the security of the society or the state. There is an adage that security is a public good without which there can be no development. Article 13 of the Liberian Constitution states, every person lawfully within a republic shall have the right to move freely throughout the republic, to reside in any part thereof, and to leave therefrom, subject, however, to the safeguarding of public security, public order, public health, or morals, or the rights and freedoms of others. This is positive reinforcement of the social contract theory. As a people and members of this Liberian society, we are under natural obligation to take part in ensuring that our generation and posterity, or those coming after us, enjoy maximum security and protection at all times. Also, to our friends in the business sector, those that come to ensure that they have growth economically, we are strongly admonishing all of them that there are some degree of economic sabotage. And economic sabotage can lead to the following: illegal activities of hoarders, black market dealers, currency manipulation. We see today there is a semblance of a state within a state, where individuals doing business, or some individuals doing business, deciding the rate in terms of exchange, currency exchange rate. This is unthinkable. We have people who are going through the sabotage, can squeeze the nation. We hope that our friends will understand. Those who have financial statements that are far beyond what is being placed in the banks, we ask them, we encourage them to do that immediately by putting the monies where they belong. You cannot be partners in this country. You want to live in peace and security, and you almost an architect of destruction. You cannot see the paralysis of economic centers, and yet you act as though you are having amnesia to understand what it means to strangulate a nation economically. The monies printed in Liberia are intended to be used in Liberia. These are Liberian dollars. Why don't these monies be placed in the banks? It beats my imagination for one to say that because of lack of confidence in the bank. Never before in the history of this country that there has been any moment being shortage of currency in the Liberian banks. But we have heard rumors, though we don't dwell on rumors, that some people have stockpile of monies in the tune of billions in their homes. We shall ask the security sector to do due diligence, to evaluate, to investigate, to ascertain the veracity of those claims, because alerts must be followed so that people can know the reality. Economic sabotage is an intentional act aimed at weakening a polity, effort, organization through subversion, destruction, disruption, or disintegrating any fabric of any area. One who engages in such is a saboteur and can be deemed a provocateur, because that person may try to create an instability. We don't need terrorists. We don't need launderers. We need people who are partners. I want to thank the Guinean ambassador. I've had extensive conversation with him on the matter to ensuring that these acts can be curbed if anyone is engaged in that practice that may be from that part of the world. I want to thank the Nigerian charge d'affaires who acted instead of the ambassador of Nigeria, because the ambassador report back to base for discussion with the authorities of Nigeria. I would also want to thank the Lebanese ambassador who was here and said that they would be able to give the Liberian government unflinching support into ensuring that those bent on hoarding money be reprimanded. Those being in illicit acts in terms of financial manipulation be reprimanded. But let me say this much. Let us at some point have some transformation. The greatest economy in the world, the United States government, has about $1.5 trillion in circulation. The American government per annum changes 70% of their bills because it is something that needs to be, available at all times. The economy of the United States government is a little over the budget. It's a little over 3 trillion. The expenditure is a little over 4 trillion. Even at that, because the country is advanced and it's a credit economy, you have slightly a deficit of 985 billion, nearly $1 trillion. So Liberia is not so different from the economy and what it stands for. All we want, support Liberia constructively. Those who are auto-intoxicators must not be those ones to derail the process. Meaning that those who are, having that posture of auto-intoxication, meaning of poison within. Because if poison exists within the body, that is deemed as auto-intoxication. We want to say on this note, we wish you all a festive period. And I want to thank the Liberian House of Representatives that have been supportive of the government's agenda of serving the people and always putting the people first. That's it. I want to say thank you very much. Happy holidays. God bless. Excuse me. We have been working together, and I believe that the Senate is in strict support of our action, and that will be, I believe that is done. If not, it will be because we were told that they were prepared, and I believe after our action, action was also taken at the Senate side. Whatever that means, we have been able to do our part of the responsibility given us, meaning that to deal with financial matters. Instruments that were deemed, proper and timely in the best interest of the people. The legislature or the House of Representatives acted upon them, and this was to the extent of the power of scrutiny and seeing the necessity. So I want to thank them for being supportive in that respect. This is an area of scrutinization. So I think to the extent of the capacity to understand what it meant for the best interest of the people, excuse me, they acted judiciously and they acted expeditiously.